everything.
Well, if you think about the Tibetan after-death experience, if you don't know how to be in the emptiness, then you will be pestered by all of the various wicked demons that are there.
Pestered.
Yeah, we are learning here.
Exactly.
Right.
And the system here is just incredible, you know. You can see clearly how this whole thing, Europe, is governed only by economic powers. There is no politics or something, nothing else. So my mother, when she had to clear things, for example, now in Switzerland there is a new law. If you want to take out more than 10,000 euros, you have to say it 5 months in advance. If not, they will cut you 2%. Can you imagine that? And that was
it's just because they want to take the 2%.
Isn't it?
They can figure out any way to clip your.
And they are interested in intimate structures of family life. They have no right to do that, you know. But it is so not natural for the Swiss to subject themselves to this kind of forces. It is incredible. And everybody talks only money here. Money and buying. So there is no issue for, you know, eternity is dangerous here because it's terrible.
Well,
never mind.
Switzerland was designed for money, especially. It's a place of money, and not much more than that. And I always wondered how Switzerland could really manage that Swiss franc, which is very steady and strong. The same with dollar. Dollar, okay, it kind of grabbed the whole world, you know, all the oil and all the natural resources, human resources. It grabbed, yeah, and kind of offered paper for the service, for labor, for resources. But Swiss franc.
But Switzerland is an appendix of the US.
Okay, yeah, right. Most probably it's this kind of, you know, exchange to show some exchange, some movement, something. So dollars are put into francs and francs into dollars. So,
you know,
two hands of the same person. You know, now I will take these dollars, make Swiss francs, and then I will make dollars. And
I know. Actually, I believe that that Switzerland as such, it is that part of Europe which can be contaminated by the US, and it contaminates the things around. You know, it is like they can enter much more freely into Europe. It is an occult thing.
Yeah, it is an occult
because
thing.
For example, if you want to buy a Macintosh outside in Europe, you pay 1,003. I don't know how much you pay. Anyway, in Switzerland, you pay 400 euros less.
All right.
Yeah, because it is a thing which is linked to the US directly as Israel. Israel also is such a country.
Okay. Okay.
It cannot go down economically because it is linked to the US.
You should look online and watch a video called Wake Up Call. Wake Up Call. It's a 2-hour but very interesting documentary about a group known as Bilderberg, the Bilderberg group.
Okay, I will.
And this group has secret meetings every year, and it has been doing that since before World War II. And all of the rich people and the heads of state come together, and they have a plan for the economic control of the whole world. And they've been implementing this plan now for many years, like 75 years, since before World War II. And they are being documented. I mean, you can actually see them having these meetings. They're secret. They don't allow the press there, but people manage to sometimes infiltrate. And it's a very thorough expose of this group's activities and who they are. You know, you see who they are. They're the people that actually control capital.
Exactly. But you know, it smells fishy because whenever I come in touch with that, I see the same mind behind it. So it is the mind which is talking, and it has always the same qualities.
Yeah.
So it is not that you have to know about it, about the actuality of it, but if you tour the world, then you can see actually that it is like this Burger Kings or McDonald's. It's always the same mind behind it in all the countries. So what do you want? Okay, but we have here another kind of mind behind it, which is much better. And I was just talking to Vladimir about this, what he wrote about.
All right, there were some thoughts which came, by the way, spontaneously thinking, and I got very beautiful reply by Banerjee, Aparna Banerjee, who is philosopher in Calcutta University, whom I also invite to our meetings, but now she can't join us because of some personal reasons, her daughter, and she has much on her plate. But what she answered was interesting. She says that usually, yes, apprehensive cognition is first in the case of children, you know, babies. And they have to try everything, you know, to discover the thing. Yeah? And they see the thing and then they want to understand what it is. She says that in the case of human beings, developed adult, the comprehensive cognition is preceding the apprehensive. And that is something to think of, how, not what she says, but how people perceive these things, how they see this. I would never say that it is so, because even in the mind, when you think about something, you have to have it in the mind, hold it in the mind as an idea or concept or vision or structure, something you have to have. And this is apprehensive. But then the comprehension kind of follows when you hold it long enough and kind of move around it, so to say, then the comprehension grows. And that is the case every time. And the logic helps this comprehension to establish it, yeah, in some way, in the orderly manner. But again, logic is a tool. It is not a comprehension. It's a tool to step by step, in apprehensive steps, to comprehend, to come to understanding. So in that sense, it would be very interesting to review that, what she said, that we comprehend first and then we come to apprehension. Hi, Gunya. I would like to discuss this with her. I can't write it in the letter. It's very complex. It's difficult to write. But I would like to start maybe something, write-ups on these thinking, something. Maybe I established the forum, which is not very big, but it is on Google. We can put there our thoughts or something. It would be nice. Write-ups, discussions. We can start discussions, which could have some outcome at the end. I have a beautiful discussion with the Russian group, which is in writing, and I will put it there. Unfortunately, it is in Russian, but for Russian-speaking people, it would be really very good. The people in my group are actively participating. They're interested in these discoveries, you know. And they are very psychological and spiritual people. And in that sense, it's quite interesting to see this development. Anyhow, this is what I wanted to share, that we can do this. We did this with lots of very intense exchange of ideas. He wrote many interesting things, very psychological, profoundly. They need maybe working out, and maybe we will make a compilation at the end of the exchange of these thoughts, you know, some kind of, I do not know, thoughts about, or conversations with something.
So he said you wrote something about it?
Yes, Latso wrote many things. He was
But
sending.
he said that you wrote something.
Yeah, now he wrote something, 2 pages about seeing and hearing.
Right, a comprehensive and apprehensive cognition.
Did I see that?
I sent. I put it online, and you are invited, by the way, to this group.
Yeah, I have trouble with Google Groups, actually.
Aha, you have trouble with that. Okay, we can go directly if you want. We can do in Yahoo. You are in Yahoo, yes. So
I can try. I mean, I have a Google account, but for some reason I've been invited to other groups and I have trouble accessing it. Anyway, I can try again to do that. Should be possible.
Okay. Anyway,
Normally I don't use that Google account. I can try to do it right now even.
would you like us to create maybe on a University of Unity then this forum? We can do this and start the forum, discuss something, and maybe more people will come to it, because it's a closed forum on Google. It's kind of those whom you invite will be knowing about it.
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
Maybe we should do it on just forum. Click on forum and there will be all the discussion on the integral paradigm, all the thoughts, questions and answers and so on.
Yeah, I have trouble with Yahoo.
You have?
I always getting in, it is just a nuisance, you know.
Really?
Yeah, because of the, I don't know what she did, Keka, but
she complicated the issue. It's very, very static and many layered, very difficult to come to the something you are looking for. Nobody can find our classes online. I was complaining to her about this, saying maybe we should go directly or something. She said, no, it is very easy. You type the address and then you type another address. Why should you remember all these addresses? There has to be a button where you click and you are there. And no passwords. I asked her. She was very much against this idea that everybody should remember his password. You know?
I never remember mine.
Yeah, me too. So Keka is not in our mind, kind of sense. Yeah? So for her, all these things are important, and for us, the content is important, and nobody can reach to our content. We have to redo something in our setting of Uhu website. I agree, it's not user friendly at all.
Are you on the computer right now?
Yes.
I mean, you can access your email right now?
Yes.
Can you send me that invitation again so I can try to access it?
It's Google Groups, and in Google Groups you're invited. I will send from Google Groups again to you.
Just send a link.
Right, all the link even. Integral Paradigm of Knowledge, it's called, the group. Immediately sending you this link. Chat. Here it is. This is the link of our group. There we can put our stuff, discuss things, make connections to our Uhu recordings, and so on. Have you gotten it?
Yeah. It's quite clear. It is Integral Paradigm of Knowledge group.
Right. Just click on it, it should appear in front. And since you're invited, you're part of the group, you should be able to. And we can always enlarge the number of participants. We just add emails to it, and that's it. And they will be able to come. And I was thinking about maybe some other members, Banerjee, maybe he's very also in our line of thinking.
So this Australian German psychologist, Satman Fries, I told you he has agreed to come in January. He might be interesting to include. He's pretty serious about it. Getting in, he wants to join.
Yeah, very nice that we would have a psychologist. I always was pulling Matthias or Larry into our group. It never happened. Larry was taken to Sakar, and Matthias had his own enterprise and never could have a proper psychologist who would be interested in these issues. It's nice that he is coming finally. I received your emails, but I don't know what to answer yet. The idea is excellent to create this kind of active seminars, yes, over the, I mean, Rod, your emails about.
Yeah, if we do this, if we make this topic, the integral paradigm, a focus of a course again, then everyone can get back online with it, literally in their consciousness. It would be a good way to use that time if you're willing to do it.
Right. Yeah, I'm only stuck with my papers, and here in Norway, it's difficult to get entry visa for Russian person in Norway, it seems. Yeah, I have to go to Russia to get entry visa, it seems. So I reapplied for tourist visa now. Maybe I will be changing my passport to Norwegian passport if it will happen. I do not know yet. Russia creates a lot of trouble with papers. But if that will be the case, then I will not have problem with visa anymore. But now I will be getting only tourist visa, so I can come in February and stay till the end of February only, and then I will have to go back to Norway for reapplying for new visa. For Norway now, I'm everywhere with visas. Yes, I'm everywhere I need visa in Norway.
But the tourist visa should be for 3 months.
They are giving me 6 months tourist visa. That's not the point. The point is that I have to be here to apply for next 2 years of Norwegian visa. Or if I am in time with my Norwegian passport, then there will be no issue. I will come with new passport and new visa, and don't have to go back anymore.
So you can't come for 2 months, January, February?
I can come January, February, yes. I can do this.
If you would do that, then we could have this program.
Right.
Not just a seminar.
Okay, right. This I can do, but I cannot stay over February, unfortunately, because in 7th of March I have to apply for a new visa in Norway. That's what it is.
So do you remember that scheme that I proposed, which was to start in the second week of January and go through till the end of February? Then we could have 6 weeks of continuous participation, and that would be substantial.
Yeah, it's a good idea, and it is the best season. It's not hot. It's the best weather. More people available may be interested. Not only our rebellions who are never interested in these things, but some guests. As usual, usually we have guests in our programs.
Well, yeah, and that's normal. And I'm thinking, you said some people were coming from Russia, and I know
Right.
people are coming from Amsterdam and Australia. And so, yeah, that's the population that is interested is generally living abroad.
Right.
And there are a few living in Orville also.
Yeah. Yeah, don't. Yeah, only those who give give courses mainly.
No, the last 2 years, we have had 15 or 20 people, and uh, 5 or 6 of those have been regular Orvillians.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm exaggerating. Of course, we have a couple
I
of
mean,
them.
I was a little bit surprised myself, but
Yes. I know all of them, all those who are coming. I can call them by name, so they are in every. But anyhow, it's a very, very small amount of people for such a project as Auroville, of course.
oh yeah. But there is no interest in higher education, in fact.
Right. Um, well, we will create a forum online. We need to meet in a body, so to say, and establish good connection and understanding. Maybe we could invite some other people. I do not know, Michael Murphy. He remembers us still. Some kind of troublemakers also. Maybe this. What is his name? Rajiv Malhotra troublemakers. And some who.
But neither one of them has a capacity to think.
No, you're very critical.
Unfortunately, you could come up with some more interesting possibilities.
Neither one has the capacity to think. This is something.
But if you want to have a discussion group, of course, it's good just to have some conference, and it will be more exciting, which they normally do on TV or so.
I would like to have a fellow named Otto. Where is he now?
He is somewhere.
He's somewhere. Yeah. Well, I would like him to be here
Okay.
with us.
Yeah.
You can tell him that.
Right.
Let's see.
We need a scientist with us.
We may find our scientist. You found already a psychologist, which is a great thing. We need a scientist. Yeah, we thought Otto was the one. Actually, I thought at least. But
Actually, this psychologist, as I was Googling, he's also scientist. He's also talking about ecology. And I would know someone from America. I heard one lady a long time ago, I was Googling, and she's doing a lot of this empathetic ecology and Buddhism. I forgot now her name. But if I come across Otto, of course, I could ask him, but yeah.
Otto is not around. They split in Gunhild and Otto. That's why it's not so easy to find him. He has his own things now. Something is happening. What is happening to him, by the way? What does it? God knows what he does.
Good things, probably.
Yeah, he's running for money, I guess, trying to make some living. Poor Otto, as everybody else in this world.
Well, he's not so poor.
Well, he has certain obsessions, but it doesn't.
It's good. It's okay. I mean, I'm not saying.
It doesn't prevent him from joining online.
No, I don't want to be in the way.
No, nobody's in the way. It's just it is not paying him anything back. It is not giving him anything. So he was hoping that it will be some kind of help, but it is just taking all the time and nothing else. As our University of Human Unity is, you know, it just doesn't.
But we had all the time many big dreams, which in case of financial, it was nothing immense. But it doesn't say anything. It's okay. But yeah. Anyway, that's a different word. Of course, ecology is a very important thing today. Like this, also about. I feel also somebody on sociology and what is happening today would be very important. And I hear some kind of commentaries. I hear some names or I hear some reports. I don't know them personally, but some are very good.
Well, this Australian professor of psychology has created a course for psychologists and for students, which is psychotherapy for ecological sustainability.
Mm.
I mean, how to help people get out of their attachments and fixations so that something can change around them.
There's also something which is happening here, Transition Town. You may have heard or not heard. Transition Town, it's coming from England. And there's also, they say that because of ecological crisis, there will come a point where we don't have oil and new cities will be. Means there are actually many cities in the cities who are already changing. And they also say, like, the psychology is of sharing. They have a new banking of sharing and all interesting things also. That I was also in one of this group, or they're also here in Bonn, small group. But I'm not in direct contact now, but these things are also happening.
Yeah, so I participated in a big conference in Los Angeles with that idea, with a lot of philosophers present, and the idea of a different consciousness that creates a more holistic and universal perspective wasn't very common among those people. Even though they're philosophers and they're environmentalists, and the deeper philosophical and psychological aspect of it is not something that they concentrate on very much.
Yeah, there's this one lady, this Buddhist lady. I have to find out the name. She's also on the way that we have to respect nature and see a consciousness behind, and the same thing means. And she's inspiring these groups partly, but I have to find out. Yeah.
So there's a movement, another movement in philosophy, which wasn't represented in that conference, but there are quite a few writers now that are thinking along the lines of recognizing the consciousness in matter.
Yes.
I mean, there are really quite a few of these people who are well enough established now that they publish books examining each other's ideas about the possibility that everything is conscious.
Yes.
Yeah, how else it could
So
be.
they're making a breakthrough of some kind.
Would be nice to collect. Maybe also.
Yeah, so they shifted away from this idea that thinking that when you're conscious you can talk, and you don't have to talk to be conscious.
Yeah, right.
So of course the matter has consciousness, otherwise how it could sustain itself in this particular form and even develop and grow and change. I'm not speaking even of organic matter, which is alive, but about non-organic matter, such as metals and.
Well, you say of course, but then you've read the Upanishads. But these people are generally materialists, although they study Bergson and they study Whitehead, and they see that that there's an intuition there that's important, but they don't want to recognize an absolute. And that's interesting also, because then they have to put the idea of consciousness directly into the material level, which is a good idea. And it comes to what you say, how could it not be conscious? But all of these thinkers are operating on another level of intuition that's really quite nice, and they don't have the spiritual initiation which they need to have.
Yeah, this idea of conscious matter is a great idea. By the way, it fits very well into our integral paradigm of knowledge.
Of course. Yeah, of course. I mean, if the senses are providing us with the qualities of things, the Adibhuta is working away according to higher principles, but it's doing the work.
Right. And it is charged with those very senses and can't be otherwise. It's the product of their own perception, so to say. Even though it looks like maybe it doesn't do the same thing, but it is perceived, and if it is perceived as such, it has to have consciousness. Otherwise, how it could be perceived?
Yeah, this is precisely the problem of neuroscience right now. They want to find correlates between the phenomena of matter and the phenomena of consciousness. They don't want to see that it's not a question of correlates between the two. It's a question of the unity of matter and consciousness.
Right. They again jump into this apprehensive kind of establishment. They want to have something which connects to things, and the comprehension is beyond their point, so to say. Yeah.
So one of these philosophers of consciousness, who also works in neuroscience, is making a distinction between cognition and consciousness. So he has 3 levels going on there. There's the material sphere, the world, inner and outer, and there's the process of cognition, which feeds information up to consciousness. So it's a really unnecessary bifurcation of reality, but it's the only way that this logical mind can find at this point to create some kind of coherence. So he wants to say that they're all separate, but part of this, somehow related.
Well, so they rediscover Sankhya again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. We cannot do but discover Sankhya again and again with the mental structure. Yes, it's just the best outcome which we can get out of our mind. Yeah.
No, it just comes to my mind, which is also would be very important or interesting. The consciousness beyond religions. Just now today, I think it's very important to come to some kind of how one can get there, breakthrough. One consciousness between all the different ways of.
It's interesting because my Siv is doing work on motivation. She is studying in the university, and her paper is on motivation. Interesting thing, the concept of motivation. And what they came to is really amazing, science. Yeah, they first they started with Freudian aggression and sexual drive and so on. Then they added to it the fear of something unpleasant, the whole development, fear of hunger and thirst, all these negative kind of motivators. So we are afraid to die, we want to sustain ourselves. These are kind of motivators. Yeah? But then they discovered in psychology, in social psychology, that motivation is much more complex than those drives, animal drives of sexual impulse and aggression and so on. So there is much more to it. And with the development of clinical psychology and all those interviews and behaviorism and all this empirical data of behavior and so on, so many motivations they analyzed, and they came to the three major needs or motivators. And I will tell you what they are, and you will be surprised, because we are coming back to these basics. First is autonomy. That means you want to be independent, free. Second one is relatedness, how you relate to other people and the world. And the third one is a competence. It is how you manage yourself in this world. So just look at these three. It is liberty, equality, and fraternity. It is the same three of yoga, of karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti yoga. Mm-hmm. The same three major motivators. Mm-hmm. To be free, to choose what you want to do. Second is to manage yourself, to be competent with yourself and the world. And the third, to have proper, good relations with the world and others, to have love relations. This is it. And it is in today's science on motivation. And then they say that the inner and outer motivation, intrinsic, these three are intrinsic, and outer have to match. If they match, you have a good choice to develop something. Yes, if they don't match, then you may have some problems. In a way, it's an interesting development. We can deconstruct the sciences of today in our way, to show that these things make sense. It's beautiful. Anyhow, it's a beautiful thought on motivation. Because who knows what motivation is? I was suggesting Siv to start her article, her study from this question, what motivates us to do something, to say something, to think? It's the question of Kena Upanishad. By whom flies forward the mind, reaches to its goal? By whom this speech is, what we speak is motivated? Who is the motivator of all this movement of consciousness? So the religions found their way to explain it by hidden forces, by some kind of struggle of light and darkness within you, yes, which is influencing us. So they kind of removed motivators away from us. But truly speaking, we are part of this system. And in a way, it would be very interesting to even approach this topic from.
In Hegel's philosophy, which recognizes, which we can recognize a very close connection to the Isha Upanishad also, the motivator is will. It's called will.
Right.
And will is free, inherently free.
Right.
So that first level, freedom, is not something that you have to get. It is something that is innate in the being.
Right. And that's why it is so important. Yeah.
Every action that we do, every thought that we have is generated by that will. And that will is the expression of the self. So then Hegel also proceeds to the next level, which is the relational. And the relational is the universal.
Mm.
So you have individual, universal, and finally you see that it is the self,
Mm.
which is the will, and it is the relational field.
Mm.
So you can add to your trinity of
Interesting.
Dharma, Jnana, and Bhakti, you can add the trinity itself, individual, universal, and transcendent.
Right, right.
Yeah. But the idea of will is not something that modern psychology has a very good grasp of.
Mm.
They find motivators outside.
Mm.
So the difference between the external motivation and the internal motivation is a problematic area.
Mm. But notice these three intrinsic motivations are these needs of autonomy, competence, and relatedness. It's absolutely.
I don't see them as needs. I see them as fundamental principles of reality.
Right. Or fundamental needs of ourself. Everybody has to be free, has to be competent, yeah, knowledgeable.
Well, this idea of needs is a kind of a psychological obsession.
Could be. Maslow's needs, yes, pyramid of needs, something.
So you have in order to have a need, you must have a lack.
Right.
You know it, and then you have to fulfill the lack by some external thing, and this is a very superficial analysis.
Mm.
Maybe it's rather the harmony between these three.
What?
It's maybe more the harmony between these three principles, which is again individually different. And that's when I come back to the problem of religions, or what is presently to define the freedom or the respect of others, and at the same time to have that kind of relationship between the different people, which would be also on this respect. And and for that, a certain competence is necessary also, self-competence and competence to others in relation to the world.
I think the real problem goes back to the Upanishad and the idea that there's an illusion of difference. There's an illusion of separateness between this and that, and inner and outer, and needs and fulfillments, and all of that is what they call kala or maya, and unless one sees the unity of the field, then none of that analysis is going to make any difference.
But there's staircase, no? And when we all, as a human family, start somewhere, it's good to have a staircase and then somewhere to arrive, and how to function, that we function in a better way than now.
But in the Indian tradition, what is interesting about Hegel was saying that first you move from individual to universal and then transcendental. It's a good way of thinking, but moving from individual to relational and then to the self-transcendental, which provides, it's very logic, very mental, very nice. In Indian tradition is a bit different scheme also, that there is a movement first to know oneself, not to relate, but to know oneself. Interesting, yes? You're bypassing the relational to discover yourself, to realize yourself. And so to say, as Sri Aurobindo says, the smoke of karma yoga is rising to heaven. And when you realize heaven, yourself as unborn self, then there will be a response from heaven to earth. And that response will unite the two. And this union will be that relational bhakti, the heart. So to say, bhakti is the outcome of union of heaven and earth. A bit different dynamics. And in that sense, it's kind of interesting to see this linear thinking which Hegel represents, which is very good for our logic, mental logic, and this non-mental, some kind of strange logic. But even in this way, if you look at the three parts of the Gita, Karma Khanda, Bhakti Khanda, and Jnana Khanda, 666 chapters of each, they are placed in proper order. So to say, the heart, the relational one, the love one, is in the middle. And the realization of the self is on the highest level, so the conclusive part. And these three placed in the order what Hegel suggests, they have to be discovered. But Sri Aurobindo gives completely different explanation to these three. He says the first step is karma yoga, when the effort is made to realize oneself, not relations. The second step is jnana yoga, when we realize ourselves, we know who we are, competence. And then this will be answering to us as bhakti yoga, as love towards every being. And this made me think all these years, why this dynamism? There's something in it which is different from this linear logic. You know, maybe it is even more truer to the reality of our consciousness. Anyhow, it's a good question. There is no answer to it. But both kind of ways of thinking are valid. I do not know whether it is understood what I tried to say, yes? That there is another order of thinking in the Indian tradition, more dynamic. And in that sense, of course, it's something. And
well, it's the difference between metaphysics and yoga.
Maybe.
So metaphysics without yoga, says Sri Aurobindo, is pretty useless. And the people like Hegel have this intuitive grasp of the levels and the totality. It comes from a kind of spontaneous higher mind, and they don't. And he strangely assumes that because he sees that reality, everybody will be living according to it. And this is the problem with his philosophy, and why his philosophy is for a long time rejected, because what he thought was going to be the end of evolution and the perfection of man all collapsed quite quickly around money and power. So, I'm just now reading this enormous book called The Philosophy of Right, and the psychological part of it is perfect. But when he applies it to the state and to society, it just doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
So this is a challenge for evolution and for our society. The gap is still there between knowing the reality and changing the vibrational field.
Yeah, life. The field of life is always a mystery. There is always some kind of correlation between the mind and the physical.
So the will, it comes back to the will. If we have a will, if spontaneously or through yoga, we have a will to change the field so that it's an integral and unified field, then it's possible to achieve something. But if our will is telling us, like this modern psychology, to just analyze the inner needs and the outer need, and ecologically just to try to adjust the consumption of oil, it's not changing the field. It's analyzing it and trying to understand it in a way that's not going to change it.
So it doesn't want to change it in the first place, yes? It starts with this preamble and not to change anything.
Well, yeah, and I think that's true of the psychological approach generally. I mean, people have been speaking about freedom, equality, and fraternity for a few hundred years, but it hasn't changed anything.
Maybe a few hundred years are not enough.
No, I think not. But a few weeks may be enough.
Right. 6 weeks seminar.
If we also can make a change.
Yeah, if we change, yes. Then, well, anyhow, it would be interesting to see that maybe we will dig into this deeper into the studies of consciousness, and especially cognitive consciousness of this apprehensive and comprehensive cognition. I kind of started to hope that what Sri Aurobindo says, if we would see how consciousness works on these four, samjnana, jnana, vijnana, prajnana, in every action, then our way of understanding the world and ourselves would change. Our functionality of consciousness would change. If we would.
By the way, excuse me, can you add all of the faces back? I've only got you right now.
I think it is a connection. I see all of you.
I don't.
Yeah, it will come back. It's just a speed, I think. I'm not in control of the faces. Everybody has his own.
Okay.
Everybody has his own face.
Right.
Everyone has his own face. Okay. There's Latso's face. Suddenly came on the screen
Because he was silent for so long. Latso, say something. It's kind of speak
so
a bit.
you lose your face when you stop.
But you know, I am following you, and I find it very interesting what you're saying. Nevertheless, it is not very practical, is it?
Yeah.
So I was thinking of this not practicality, and while doing these exercises on the violin, there comes always this this question: which ideas are practically changing the whole thing, and which ideas are not doing anything at all, or rather disturbing?
I think playing the violin is very practical, right?
It is very practical, but then it depends. Then it depends on this on the cognition. You know, you find yourself in the virgin forest. No, I'm trying to play now a concerto, which is quite it's quite something. It is Khachaturian violin concerto. And you find yourself at times in a virgin forest. You just don't know what to do with that. Technically, it is quite difficult, challenging. So you are there and listening to yourself, and nothing is good at all. And the pieces in between, they are so beautiful that it is very easy to play. And then you get your satisfaction. So there are these chunks. One following the other one, between this this incredible melodramatic kind of thing of the world, and there also it depends where your thoughts bring you, or where your thoughts end. Now, if you think that it is Khachaturian, Armenian, written 1940, it is all a plan of emotions. So it is this insecurity of the world, this sufferance in the world, which naturally, if you look from the point of view of eternity, it doesn't match that. Or you have to go through it and find a stand where you can understand even this one, where the emotions become not that of, well, you know, it's difficult. That is the difficulty. What is it then?
About
what is this disorder also? This disorder of the world. I mean, you have pointed out, Gunhild pointed out also this thing with the state of the world, which is disturbing, the natural equilibrium. Because everything is running after something else. There is a kind of wrong virus in the head, which determines all this run after something where all the rest is forgotten. And when you face such things as this music, you have both. No, you have this loss of harmony. And on the other side, you have this beauty of emotion at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So where to find this eternal self inside? Where to find this?
I can answer that question.
Yeah, tell me. Answer.
Because yesterday I wrote poetry about the mountain. And I realized that there's an intensity which is necessary, an emotional intensity, which we can achieve through art. But to bring that emotional intensity or that life force to that level of consciousness above itself, and until it transforms into the delight of the whole, is not an energy that people bring to economics and to commercial activities and even to psychological therapy. And so for Hegel, for example, to expect society to function according to his level of thinking, which was very intense, is absurd. So you look from your practice and your art to the world, and the intensities are very different.
Yes.
So the philosophers like Bergson and Whitehead came to the point that that reality is beautiful, that there's an intensity of reality that is a manifestation of beauty. But then who can achieve that? You know, great philosophers and musicians and poets.
Well, the solution is that everybody has to be a little bit a poet and a musician. That means that's an integral function that we all try to be that also.
Yeah, that's the integral paradigm, right?
Yeah. No, and actually, for example, in Bonn now, in Germany, they started now in many schools that the children, they have to do some instrument or some musical thing or dance or something more like at least 3 hours a week. Or now they increased this because they found it helps the development and the integration and so on. Mm-hmm. So something like this, if it would be everywhere.
Yes.
Like in Brazil, also
I think Waldorf schools were always like that.
Yeah, they do, of course, but the ordinary schools also now to start.
Yeah, but you know, I don't know if it is of much help. I have seen all these Rudolf Steiner schools and the kids that came out. They were all psychologically damaged. Although they have professed all this kind of things. And I don't know why is it that I have not found one who was normal.
But it's the application. If the application has the intensity of truth and beauty, then it can have that product. But when you create a school with a lot of ordinary teachers and students, nobody has that intensity. They only have the idea.
It's possible.
But for example, in Brazil, also there are some great musicians. They started with children on the road, and I have happened to see recently one choir from them, and they sung with so much enthusiasm, and that really started from nowhere, what it can do. I mean, if this education is done with the right people.
Right. The quality of intensity has to be quite different, because there are people who can be intense, but it will not make them artists or, thinkers. They can be very intense. There are many such intense people in the world.
No, wait a minute. I didn't say to be intense. I said an intensity.
Yes, right. I was not objecting to what you said.
No, there are intensities which create qualities.
Right.
That's not just being intense.
Yeah.
They create qualities, or they move qualities to the front.
Yeah. The quality and the intensity are the same.
All right. Okay. It's not the intensity of the vital which is needed for the realization, definitely needed, but the quality of that intensity of the vital is also needed, the refinement of some kind of consciousness in it. So intense, refined consciousness has to do the job, and not just intensity, because in Russia today, nowadays, there are many intense people, and they're very intense. They're pushing like anything, but the quality is lacking.
No, but you're not understanding the philosophical.
I understood what you said. Yes.
I mean, Bergson's philosophy is based upon this idea that the quality of something and its soul are a product of intensity and duration. So what is inherent in the manifestation of a quality is the same as its intensity and duration.
No, I think I understand quite well. If we analyze, for example, what Sri Aurobindo says about Agni, yes, in the Rig Veda, and he says that on the lower levels, Agni is very, very profoundly powerful, but because of the level of consciousness, yes, it creates disasters. It's a smoke of desire. It creates a lot of smoke, yeah, because the environment and the application is on that level, which demands this particular work, yeah, and this desire, this karma is breaking through. But on the higher level, it is becoming more sublime, and it turns the same force, the same intensity. So there's nothing kind of wrong about the idea that intensity and quality, the level, can work together and change the whole approach. Yeah, on the higher level, the Agni becomes already this aspiration or this desire for truth and so on. Yes, and on the higher level, it becomes that willpower of the divine, which creates all these worlds. So on the lower level, where there is the more ignorance surrounding it, it would be bouncing back and forth, cracking, breaking things, making mess out of everything. But in itself, it is that power, that energy, which is divine. Yes, only we don't see it. We think that this is the destructive energy only. So in a way, it's kind of interesting to see with planes, where the same intensity force on each level gives completely different results. So it's also a good way of seeing it. But I understood that you mean intensity as a quality, as the qualifier for consciousness intensity, not just as a intensity per se.
I think you could take the principle of consciousness force.
Right, exactly.
Right. No,
and then you could see that each level of consciousness has a certain force that is equal to that level of consciousness or that quality of consciousness. So you have a spiritual, eternal force behind each of the levels. But when it manifests through the vital, that spiritual force becomes vitalized. And all the forms that are produced are what we know in life, hunger and possession, and so behind there's the pure eternal energy, but in the front the forms have a certain intensity of their own, which is their quality, and that's their consciousness. So there's consciousness force manifesting on the vital level. In philosophy and music and poetry, the original eternal vibration of will has a more refined and more powerful expression. To bring that quality and intensity, which is possible on a very spiritual level, into the vital or the physical, is a very difficult proposition. We need to do it, but it takes a will, a certain kind of focus on those levels, which is normally not there.
Yeah, the power has to be there. Yes, without power, even brutal power, even nothing much can be done, truly speaking. But I understand this. Yeah.
That's how the Vedic story of the all those forces which have to be liberated, and they're also maybe intense in a way. All these pisachas, or what is there?
Right.
And,
all those
lower
powers of inconscient, they are also welcome. And this is the difficulty of our, kind of ethical mind, or our moralistic attitude, where we think that those powers which are lower, the Rakshasic, Asuric powers, yes, they are not welcome, so to say, but they are welcome. They are doing the job. Only they lack that kind of, highest qualifier, yes, of knowledge and consciousness, highest. But on their level, they are very efficient, and they do a lot of turmoil, which is needed to manifest the divine. And their work is for the divine, all of them, in a sense.
So these sustainability people, these ecologists, they don't realize that it's really necessary to have a kind of violent disruption in order for a higher consciousness that is actually something sustainable to emerge in the relational field of humanity. There's no point in trying to sustain something which essentially has to break down.
Right, and this is a big question of sustainability. What are we going to sustain? Yes, what do we want to sustain? This which is not sustainable, we want to sustain. What's the point of really trying to hold it?
But when you hear how the earth is being destroyed by chemicals, which is completely unnecessary, only because some people are so much after money, and like Monsanto and people like that.
Right.
I think that is the purpose thing, which, I mean, maybe it needs to be to get our anger about it, but
Yeah. So looking at this question of intensity again, the intensity of sustainability as a universal principle. The intensity of sustainability itself is so great that our current socioeconomic structures cannot sustain that level of intensity which is necessary for sustainability.
I already anticipated your thought. It's very nice. All right, very good. Yeah. So the intensity of sustainability destroys the world.
Well, it destroys the temporal structures,
Right.
not the world.
Yeah, I mean, the world which we thought we have to sustain.
So one of these, one more comment. One of these philosophers of material consciousness that I've been reading, he has a book called Philosophy and Ecology After the End of the World.
Nice.
But you know, if you really think of it, then every learning process is like that. That you have something, it is like chaotic things coming together, and only that one which is eternally sustainable will survive. All the rest will fall.
Yeah.
There was something, although, in this kind of sustaining from step by step, sustaining that which is always there, unborn self, yes? In this kind of time and space continuum, kind of developing it into more and more suitable instrument for sustainability of the spirit. It's this evolutionary process of change and transformation. And there are times when one cannot hold on to the old structure, as it was in the time of the Kurukshetra of Krishna. Yes, he couldn't explain to nobody there that he wants to destroy that particular formation in order for new one to come into being. He couldn't explain. There was nobody to understand that. Arjuna was not available for this explanation. He was complaining in the first chapter to him that you want to destroy this world, how we will sustain it? And Krishna is here, the divine, who knows everything, who knows what he wants, and they don't see it. And this is really an interesting question, whether we have to accept the change, really. If we are accepting the change, how can we continue to pump oil out of earth and burn it into atmosphere and say that we want sustainability? It's nonsense. It's just...
But Krishna came up with a good solution. He decided that he could show them delight and freedom from grief, even on the battlefield.
Well, he was there, yes.
So if the new consciousness, which is descending, according to Sri Aurobindo, can bring delight into the field in a way that allows the destruction to proceed in a kind of controlled way, it will be a phenomenon of history.
Right. Yesterday I saw the program on ecology, by the way, since Gunhild is talking about ecology, and in that program it was unexpected, because I always heard that they always said that they know the reason of this global warming and what happened and why the climate is changing. And in this program, which is the newest, on BBC or somewhere, they say that we actually do not know. We do not know why 70% of ice is already melted we do not know. It's not because of some effect or some gas or something else. There are some movements in stratosphere which are changing. And in those movements of those, the more they learn, more they see that they really misplaced their kind of ideas. They thought that it is coming from too much gas burned, or now I discovered that, truly speaking, that even oxygen is produced mainly not by the forests, but by the ocean. You see, we are kind of thinking too much ahead with our kind of presupposing certain things, but we know very little about why this global warming is taking place. And I immediately thought that maybe this is exactly what Sri says. There is a new time coming, supramental time. And this is the global warming time, that the whole structure of Earth and climate and people and relations have to change. And how to force them to change, if not through this global change, They would never change. They would go on pumping oil, burning and exploiting and killing one another with these wars. These Russians are such idiots. Can't really.
These things are not separate.
Right.
The intensity of sustainability, otherwise known as the supermind, it's doing all of those things. It's burning too much oil. It's creating layers that are destroying the ozone. It's doing wars in Russia and your homeland, and it's exploiting the poor for the sake of the rich, because all of these things are related. Right. And they're related to a cause which is not known.
Right.
But then it's on us that it doesn't become too intense in that way. Like Mother also said, she said once in New Year, truth or the abyss, means it's a choice also of our consciousness to make it milder. It depends also on us, that's how intense it becomes.
I don't know if milder is good.
Yes, we do not know.
I mean,
it could be worse. It could be worse.
If you would be in those countries where it's now so horrible, I think you would not smile. It's really, of course. No, from the higher point of view, it's all Maya.
It seems that the divine chooses suffering a lot of the time.
It's a shortcut to change, yes. Right.
So Khachaturian was probably expressing that in his music.
Yeah, I suppose so. You have to hear the concert. It's really incredible.
This is ta 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 ta.
It's not the Cossacks, the Sabletons.
Okay.
The dance of the sabers.
So is it an expression of the destructive spirit?
Not really. It is an expression of love. And by the way, if you want to see this, I was playing this concerto of Prokofiev, the first one. And if you listen to it, there is this will to change the vital, to illumine the vital. And you can see it from the first movement to the last movement, how it happens, the process of that. And this is very interesting. At least I had this experience that it was there, that it was spiritualizing the vital. So, and Khachaturian, I just started the first movement, so I don't know how it will finish. But maybe next year sometimes we can talk about it.
Good.
Right. So for our forum, for such meetings, what do you think we should do? Shall we do some presentations, which kind of presentations, preparations, if you like, maybe some discussions on the matter, which will help us to manage the material better, maybe in our sessions in January, February. We can already kind of work with our smaller group, enlarge the group, and see what happens. Find this kind of harmonious thinking and add to it, add more and more, enrich it. Yeah.
It's good to have these preliminary discussions, because then we don't have to have them again.
Right. Well,
Probably we will. But
No, I find it very good. And by the way, I started, because what you wrote and what you are saying also, Rod and Gunhild, it just stays in my mind, and I started already writing this week an answer to that what you were saying. Not an answer, but let's say a kind of from this point of view of creativity. So I am doing it, and I will send it to you. I will send it on this Google thing.
oh yeah, very good. So we can
Yes.
have a discussion. Yes.
Yeah. So, and I find many things here which you said. I would like to go again through the recording because many things I didn't understand well. And I would like to come back to them, and they are all integrated in that, also in that work. Even this what we were talking about Hegel and about this trinity of autonomy, relatedness, and
Competence.
competence. So I think that these things they always reflect on the smallest detail, on the smallest movement. So
this idea of competence can also be called mastery.
Right. Right.
It's a little bit closer to what we mean, I think.
Right.
The interesting thing is that everything is just there already, and so it is just that it is being born in the process. It is being evident in the process of expression, because it is that one which expresses itself at the end.
Right. We cannot make some other kind of set of ideas out of the blue, or arrive at some other conclusion. And it is kind of interesting that the science does the same, and they rediscover that which was discovered already on another level of philosophical. Now they will discover it in the physical, and they will match it totally, because our mind has a certain inclination, capacity, ability, yes, laws of its existence will be determining the way of finding in the material world things. They will be determined. They will be created according to the mind's faculty. They will be made in this way if they are not there today. And then they will be discovered. So, and this is really kind of interesting, that we are not free to do whatever we want. We are determined by our nature, by the nature of consciousness, which wants to be discovered in this particular way. And we will be following it and discovering it in this way. It's exactly as Sri Aurobindo says in the Kena Upanishad, that Brahman doesn't want to be unknown and unknowable. It wants to be known to our consciousness, to our outer consciousness. And it will provide us with tools of knowledge, with logics, with everything else what we are now discovering, with the words. It will provide us with tools which will help us to discover him in this particular manifestation. Of course, Brahman goes far beyond this manifestation, but it is much more valuable to discover him in this form, in this manifestation, than to discover him beyond. Much more valuable, it seems.
Was what you just said, what we would do before we meet Zen, but we could make also maybe some general topics like a heading which we want to know, which we want to have as an outcome for integral paradigm. Maybe, I mean, maybe some of us cannot be all the time there, and
well, it's a good exercise for us to really start thinking in terms of possibilities of integral paradigm. I'm kind of it's a new topic. Nobody accepts this. It's too heavy for the world, you know. I spoke about it in Oslo University in the social psychology department or sociology department, and they just looked at me as if I was crazy, you know, when I said integral paradigm of knowledge. They said, well, you are daring too much. We don't want this. We want small thing, you know.
Well, they have to protect their specializations.
Right, exactly. But we have nothing to protect, so we can go ahead.
Yeah, this is the advantage of not being employed.
Right. And also disadvantages.
It does. Which side of the sacrifice is more difficult? Which type of sacrifice is more difficult?
Okay, so if we agree to do this, so these kind of sets of presentations, I would like maybe one by one we will do something like this. We will have one presentation and discussion on one presentation. So presentation is about 20, 25, 30 minutes, and then followed by discussion. And this would be the set of, I would like to start maybe with these fundamentals from the Upanishad. We will review them, which we know already, but it would be always a new view. I'll look at them, not apprehensive, but comprehensive, deeper. And we will share our points of view. And then I would like everybody of us to do this from their perspective, from Rod from philosophical perspective, from maybe Bergson or Heidegger. Or
How about from Rod?
Yeah, I was thinking.
Okay, from Rod, it's fine. But why we are using languages of this? I am using Upanishads because it makes me free. Yeah, I don't need to be responsible for what I say. They say, you know, they are guilty. So in that sense, it makes me free to inquire. So it's no big deal. If you don't want to use them, you use them as you like. And Latso, I would like you to prepare something on music you do. Just even take violin. We can see you and hear you very well. It would be.
Well, he said that he was writing something already.
Yeah.
And that you post, and I posted.
No, but I think it's much more valuable to hear it, you know, than to read it. And also what I find is that if I express things, there's an energy which then helps to write things better. If we're trying to abstractly formulate things and then present them, it's kind of backwards like that.
But that's why I am between the violin and the pencil. So it is not abstract because my ideas, they don't come from the table, but they come from directly from the violin, because otherwise I cannot write. So it in a way it is much more complete when I can write it down.
Yeah, but when you tell it to me, you know what you have written and you know what you have thought.
It is true.
But I don't. And so there's a kind of a human quality of communication through language, which is more complete than thinking and writing. And this has been known classically, but because we are print oriented, we forget about that and we think it's important to write everything, which is bullshit. It's much better to say it.
Right.
Yeah. On the other hand, if I don't write it, I cannot.
No, I understand that. I understand that it's a helpful tool.
Yeah.
For the person who's creating who's developing the idea, it's a creative tool because you get feedback from yourself. But then, if you read that to somebody, it doesn't mean anything.
You
right.
can comment.
Yeah. Yes. It is very true. Even when I reread what I write, it is really very boring, and unfortunately, even cannot be and not easy to understand because because the context in which you saw it has shifted, and then and you didn't explain it. So you didn't go into the depth of explaining all the surrounding and context in order to bring this out, because you made notes, it was obvious to you. And then after a few weeks, you look into it and you say, what the hell, and you change every word because it doesn't work anymore. So in a way, this can be taken only as notes. If it is provoking some thoughts, it's like aphorisms. If they are aphorisms, it's good. We can kind of build around them and discuss them. And in Gunhild, you also can prepare something for us. It would be nice to, if you find something on ecology or music and ecology or Upanishads. Gunhild has PhD in Upanishads in the light of Sri Aurobindo. So we have a very valuable kind of knowledgeable person with us who is always kind of portraying herself as if nothing special, but it is not so. So please just do something. I would, we are more aggressive in a way with energy, and that's why we take over and not, but please also be aggressive. Don't worry. It will be well accepted.
And if this integral paradigm has got some value for education, it would be nice to have a perspective, developing a perspective about that application, about the educational application.
Right.
And so maybe she's interested in that.
Yeah, could be.
Maybe you are interested in that, Gunhild.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Could be.
I think about yeah.
But what about new people? Do you see that it is good to bring new people? I have few of them on the list there behind this.
I would like to invite the Australian German psychologist.
All right. So please invite him, and we can see how we can integrate him into this thinking together and tuning with everybody, and then see what happens. Because psychologists are very sometimes,
And he contacted me to join our project. So I haven't talked to him yet. I just had a few emails. But I think he must have read the website.
Should be something.
I'll find out how much he has, but I think he's probably already somewhat informed.
If we bring these new people before the presentations from the beginning would be good, because we will start from the basics and the whole
Right.
so they will join the core group, core thinking or something.
Yeah.
I was thinking about some American friends. You don't think that they are, we can invite them from America?
The only person in America that I find can speak my language is Don Salmon.
Okay, excellent person. He is also a psychologist, of course.
He's a psychologist and a musician.
Oh.
He has composed 1,000 like 15-minute compositions for different kinds of meditation and concentration, and he's preparing to put them all on his website. But he sometimes sends me music that he plays spontaneously based upon classical music. He does variations on themes, and he understands integral yoga perfectly. That's a big statement, but I think it's true.
Yeah, he was in all these seminars on integral psychology, from the beginning, from 2000. I know him from first seminar in 2000 when we met. And that time he was already interested in some jnana, vijnana, prajnana. We had a discussion with him, and even
I had serious arguments with him.
Right.
at that time.
Yeah, so we could invite him. He is a very articulate personality.
But these days we understand each other very perfectly these days.
Right. And he has also background in Ken Wilber. So in a way, it's a good person to have with us. If he has time, because he's busy usually.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, then maybe at least for our sessions on Saturdays, he could find time. I don't have his email anymore. Maybe somewhere I have. If you are in contact with him, you can invite him also. He's closer to us. Maybe this new person from Australia and him would be a good psychology kind of department, and develop something in this.
I actually sent him material that was given to me by the Australian so that he could review it, and he did, and he gave me some positive feedback. So I think the two of them eventually will connect anyway.
Right. It would be, I'm not pushing, but it would be nice if they can come to our discussions from the beginning, because then we will, maybe if they can, I do not know. If you think only Australian, then it's okay. But Don is our person, so he would be feeling totally at home.
Well, yeah, yesterday I had chats online with him for hours. So on the one hand, he says he has no time, and then on the other hand,
you can't stop him talking.
Completely undisciplined. So.
It's like Matthew, the same, yeah.
He pretends. He always pretends he has something too important, but then, in fact.
All right. Let's see. Maybe it's exactly that problem which become decisive at the end. But I have few other personalities who are kind of I would like to bring in, but want to ask your opinion first. It is you remember Bindurana? And you see, we are all kind of only boys, and only Gunhild alone, and there will be more boys around. It is very boyish. We need something, some ladies, some female energies, creative and so on. What do you think about Bindurana from this Institute of Educational Research Institute? She is part of Yedukomp. You remember Yedukomp?
Yeah, I know. I had it. I bought it. I put it into the school. And I have had communications with her before.
Right. I have very good relations with her, close, and she invited me many times to her institute. I was giving her presentations on integral paradigm to the whole staff of her institute. Can you imagine? She called all her staff, and she wanted me to meet her boss, this owner, yes, of the Yedukomp, who is running the whole thing. She said that he's very brilliant person, and he would understand. And once they accept, this would be a good way to embody it, yeah, through this institute of research institute on education to come in terms of possibility of bringing it into practice. They have more than 2,000 schools in India, and it would be maybe a good field of research. What do you think? Bindurana could be useful for us. Maybe
try it. You can try it, see if she responds.
Okay, she would love to be this. I know her, and I know what she thinks, and she needs it. She needs this constant input because she's in that center of creating something. Yeah, she's looking for creative energy, creative thoughts, ideas. So she's putting it into her thing. But we could think of if it is too much to invite her to now at this stage, we can invite her later. I'm just asking your advice. I do not know how you see it.
I don't have an opinion about that.
But we will invite her to seminar for sure, yes. She can make her presentations and we will have an intense discussion to our seminars in January, February. Okay, I will write to her. Banerjee cannot join, Aparna Banerjee, because of her situation in her family. What do you think about Devashish? It's a bit, in your opinion, Rod.
I don't have an opinion
Okay.
about that. I just got an email from this guy Anantagiri.
Okay.
And you might have gotten his email. He's inviting us to a seminar in Bangalore in February.
Right.
Well, you know, it sounds similar to what we're doing.
Maybe
you can have a look.
Yeah, maybe we will find more people who are interested in it. Okay, so these two I was thinking of is Devashish Banerjee, who is close to us, but I do not know how it would be, again, his timings and so on. And Keka, we have Keka, don't forget, who is now in the US. It seems she's now in LA again.
Well, I visited her in LA in the summertime.
Right.
I went to her place and had dinner, and Devashish was there.
Okay.
But she's moving back to Pandi this month.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, again.
And I think it would be nice to invite her.
Right. So Keka, well, Devashish and Bindurana.
I think Evgenia would also be interested.
Yes, I was also thinking of her.
Okay, you are closer with Evgenia now than I am, although she lives in my flat.
Right.
All right, right. Because
she has one thing she has added to your flat is about 100 books that I gave her of philosophy.
Okay, nice. She will take them with her, I guess.
You have now a very good philosophy library there.
For a while, before she leaves. But yes, okay, good. Evgenia, yes, it's a female energy, a bit this, but
she's a scientist.
But yeah, we need this kind of chemistry, physics.
Actually, she needs more than we do.
Maybe. But Keka is. We have Keka, of course, with the same physics background. Right. Two of them will create an opposition to the spirit. I'm joking. Right. All right. So this is the and you, about you, Latso, do you have somebody to invite?
Not at present. Okay. There is this girl from Prague, as I told you.
Do you think you can contact her and find out what she thinks about it?
Yes, I already did. I didn't receive an answer yet.
Okay.
But she is in the University of Prague, and she has many contacts with people who try to think otherwise than. And this I saw in this seminar in Prague what kind of people they are, and they are very interesting. Most of them are from the part of theater and of choreography, of dance, of architecture, and very nice, really. Surprising.
There's another person that I know, actually one of the most brilliant people that I know. And he, some of you have met him. He's a Spaniard. His name is Alex. Alex is going to be in Oroville for the month of December. He's been there before twice. He has 2 PhDs, one in physics and one in philosophy.
Wow.
And he's just absolutely brilliant. So maybe we could invite him if you want more boys. He's young.
Lovely. Please invite him. If he's interested, of course. But
Yeah. He's in his 30s and he's already doing amazing work.
And you, Gunhild?
I just something comes to my mind indirectly. I don't know the person, but I know a friend of the person. And they have made an alternative banking, and he has written a book, Dare to Care. In England and America also, I think it's a kind of, but I don't know how big it is. And they have put a lot of thought on it. And I was here in another anthroposophic institution where I was in between to invite that person there. And now it just comes that could be interesting because I think he has something to say. But I don't know whether he would come to India, that I don't know. And I don't know him personally. But I know my friend, kind of friend, she knows him very close, so I could ask. Because we don't have from Ponential, this integral, we don't have.
No, people have to be interested in the topic. It's not just that they're good.
Yeah.
And so if Otto, you will not be able to find anyhow. But what about Marco?
I can find Otto.
Yeah. Marco Masi. You remember Marco Masi?
Yeah, very well. Mm.
And what about our old friend, sclerotic, our main friend, professor of philosophy and Three Musketeers.
You're thinking about Schmidt's poem.
Yes.
Rudy.
Rudy. I remember his surname, not his major name. What about Rudy?
You like to invite troublemakers, huh?
I love Rudy. Actually, he was a very nice person.
I remember an argument with Steve that was pretty intense.
Steve made her point, but Rudy is soft.
And after that, he disappeared.
And other people from CIAS, what do you think? Your friends, or I do not know, some CIAS people?
Yeah, there's a CIIS person who just now moved to Crestone just this weekend. He was a professor of philosophy for a while. Eric Weiss is his name. But he's been out of the circle for a while, and he's going to be settling in here. So we'll see, maybe.
Okay. And those other people,
he participated in writing a book that Michael Murphy edited recently called Beyond the Physical.
Okay.
So he's definitely a good candidate, but his personal situation is a little unstable right now.
Beyond the physical, we are very interested in this kind of approach.
No, he speaks our language. He came to the workshop this August here, and he made a presentation to this group on Sri Aurobindo, which he has his PhD in, the Sri Aurobindo studies. And he also knows Don Salman and people, Debashish and so on.
And what about Delhi people?
He's a good candidate. What about what?
Well, if you find him, it would be very nice to bring him in. But other Delhi people, I thought certainly Amita and the whole that Gnostic Center people, they're all female energies. Anyhow,
I don't know if I would put Amita in that category, but
no, she is. She's
a female. She is a female.
She is.
Her energy is pretty masculine.
Well, it became masculine because the world is demanding that type of expression. But truly speaking, she is Shakti, very powerful. Well, anyhow, let us then step by step. I'm inviting then two people. You can talk to Keka, yes, or shall I talk to Keka?
Yeah, I can do, or
Okay.
you can do.
Yeah, you talk to Keka is good, and I will talk to Bindurana. Latso will talk to this lady from Prague, and Gunhild will find that other person and speak with her. So, and then you bring two people, two psychologists besides.
Yeah, that's a pretty good chance.
And that would be great group. We can start doing something. All right, next time then we will start with presentations. If they are not there, it's okay. I will be making first observation of the Vedanta, how in Vedanta these faculties are dealt with, and we will start kind of building up slowly on that another presentation. And you think what you would like to present. You wrote, and you, Latso, and you, Gunhild. So next, after that, after next Saturday, there will be your presentations one by one. So I will start the thing, kind of presenting the topic, apprehensive construction.
Yeah, good.
All right. So then it's good. We meet next time. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
What time? Three.
The same
time?
the same number of the meeting as you see it now. It will be not changing. It's very easy to come in. You can click on this and put the number in, and you are in the meeting immediately. Or you will have to refer to the invitation, which is there.
You can send the invitation every time.
Right.
Better. I don't. Yeah.
Okay, I will resend the invitation every time to everyone.
And I can send you the emails of these other people, and you can send it to them also.
Right. You give me the emails. I will put them on the list, so it will be automatic. They will be invited.
Yeah, good.
All right. No. So all the best, and we meet next time then.